What happened?
Little echo.
We're back in session. I'm going, Mr. Camardi, earlier this morning when he said that, at his comment section, he wanted Ms. Lynn Williams to come up and give us an update on the library. She's here, so let's go ahead and take care of that item of business.
Well, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
It's good to see you today. Good to be here. I want to say thank you. I have a good report to bring forward. And number one, Jackson Builders and Kent Warren are awesome. They've been great to deal with from the community standpoint. So I have to admit, you guys do know how to pick them. So thank you.
Thank you. We finally done something right.
Would you say that a little louder?
We're gonna frame that one.
I do just give you an update on where I think once I know there was an article in the paper yesterday about kind of wherever they are, but once they finish the roof, Ken expects that it's going to take no time to finish, and he's looking at being finished by the end of May. So we are very excited about that. Now I think the onus is on the community a little bit for the things that we need to finish and supplement to make sure we stay on task and keep it finished. One of the things that the community funds we've agreed to do is there's a small warehouse that's attached to the library building. That's not part of the scope of this project. And we've agreed to pay for the refurbishment of that, a new roof, and some other things on the inside, creature comforts, but to make it a permanent facility for the Friends of the Steel Library, where they can store their books, they can hold book sales. It's 1,500 square feet, so the public they can sell their books without having to move them anywhere else. And we thought it was a wise investment to give the Friends an opportunity to continue their work of sustaining and supporting the library into the future. So that's one of the things that we're doing. We also have the Marion Hargrove collection. That's not included as a cabinet and a way to maintain and store those materials. And Marion Hargrove is a native son of Mount Olive. He was a writer for many years, screenwriter, and wrote episodes for the Waltons. He's probably best known for See Here Private Hargrove and the sequel to that, and a collection of columns. And that, he was back in the 40s and made movies, very successful movies, and he gave all of his papers, including his original manuscripts and those things, to Steele many years ago. And so that's part of the collection at Steele. And so the community will provide the funding to display and store those materials for the future. And then we have some miscellaneous signage and things that we're going to do. But beyond that, all the remaining funds that we have will go toward the collection for the materials purchases at Steele Library, for the new library, because it's going to take a lot to fill it up. So we're very excited about all of that, and it is, I have to say, it's quite exciting to ride by and see all the construction going on and stuff happening. So there's a lot of excitement, a lot of interest continues to be in the library, and we very much look forward to the grand opening. So, do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for Ms. Williams?
Suppose not. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Doherty?
And I take it that Mount Olive's working on well, actually, you can't work on the parking lot yet until after they get through with the construction. Is that correct?
Actually, they have not used that parking lot, the corner lot,
Right.
for staging of any of the construction. The Pickle Festival uses that spot, and I'm trying to think how the timing worked out. But that's something that I think that the town of Mount Olive is handling in terms of what they do to it. But I'm thinking it would be closer to completion of the facility before they would do anything.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else? That it? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve had to go out for a conference call, said he'll be gone about 8 to 10 minutes. Let's jump down on our new business number 4, Planters Ridge. Connie, if you would, we'll get out of the way, and then when Steve gets back, Joe Mel will take care of, so y'all can leave for your 4 o'clock meeting.
Planters Ridge subdivision is before you today. Planters Ridge Phase 3. It's a 16 lots extension of the existing Planters Ridge subdivision. It's off of Wayne Memorial Drive in Salisbury Township. The lots all meet the minimum lot size for the subdivision ordinance. It will involve 2 extensions of Planters Ridge Drive, which will eventually make a loop at the back of the property. Planning Board has reviewed the subdivision and recommends that it be approved as presented.
Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion on the floor approved. Any comments or questions from Mr. Price?
Before you go, Mr. Price,
Mr. Tate?
just a couple questions. So this is the last phase, is that right?
No, sir. There probably will be several more phases. If you see on the map, we've got Planters Ridge extension on both sides there.
Okay,
And what will eventually happen is both of those will be extended toward the back of that property, and they will make a loop at the back. Where you see the temporary turnarounds labeled, you've got one just past lots 46 and 47, and one past lots 55 and 57 in the middle of the property there. Those would be, we have them put in a temporary turnaround just in case for some reason they don't build out the remainder of the property. There would be a place to turn around into that street without having to pull in somebody's property.
okay. And you know why I'm asking, because it's right there, Salisbury.
Sure.
Right next to me.
And they probably, from where they are with the lots they've done now, from their preliminary, as I recall, this will eventually probably be double the size that it is right now. So they've probably got at least 50 more lots in there.
We all, you know, each of these neighborhoods want to make sure we've got DOT standards on our roads. And they're
Right, and
doing
that's what
that.
they do. They've built the streets to DOT standards, and we already have, this was one of the reasons this originally went to the planning board last fall, and we were waiting on a built to standards letter from DOT certifying that these streets had been built to those standards, and we do have that in hand now. So those streets have been paved, and we have a letter from DOT saying they've been built to their standards.
Excellent. And one final thing, that's in East Wayne Fire
That's what I was
District?
going to know.
Must be right, the line must
Yeah.
be right there.
I think so, yes, sir.
Okay.
And school district, East Wayne School.
East Wayne School District, yes, yes,
Well,
sir.
actually, they probably go to Northeast and ACOG.
Amen.
They would.
I'll check again, but it,
CBA got North Wayne, middle and northeast is what you got on the
right,
sheet.
so, well, I think on the memo that went to you, as Mr. Aycock pointed out, I got Aycock, North Wayne, and Northeast is
That's
what's on the
correct, that's
school district.
correct, that's where
And
we're
then,
going.
fire, I've got East Wayne, and you're right, it could be right on the line.
It must be.
I guess, and that could be a non-issue in shortly anyway.
It doesn't- Yes, that's right, it doesn't matter. I just, didn't know. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else? Mr. Parker, can we approve it with one board member missing? Yes, sir. Okay, I have a motion on the floor. No other comments. Pleasure to board. Everyone in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
Where you get the other ones?
What else?
I'd like to wait till Steve gets back on the joint use recommendation from the planning board and
This is under the-
let's get, can we get can we do the budget amendments with? Yes, sir. What's the pleasure of the board?
Yes,
Give me a
sir.
nod.
Yes.
Yeah, all right. Ms. Holt, let's do the budget amendments.
Those are not for me, huh?
Not all of
Just
them.
one of them.
This is another one since then.
This is another one.
Changed it again.
Yeah, we had number 219.
It's still 219.
But you've changed it again?
We changed it again.
That's what these long meetings do.
Y'all keep on.
Change from AM to PM.
I had forgot about, we got one this morning.
Well, it's the same.
I think we've gone back to where we were.
Start when you're ready, Ms. Pam?
Okay, the first one in your package is number 161. It is a grant, it's an increase in TANF funds, which is temporary assistance for needy families. The grant is increasing by $13,620 with the associated expenditures. And this is for the health department.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Doherty?
I move adoption of Budget Amendment 161.
Any questions or comments? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
Your next budget amendment is number 216. It's for the Wayne County Sheriff's Department. Is to increase the revenues received for concealed weapons, $2,345, and the revenue received for fingerprint fees by $1,500 in the associated expenditures.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve 216.
Have a motion on the floor. We approve Budget Amendment 216. Any questions? All in favor, raise your right hand.
Number
Motion carries.
217 is for the Sheriff's Department, is to anticipate revenue received for insurance refunds of $1,584.35 for the Sheriff's Department, increasing the associated line item maintenance and repairs vehicles by the same amount.
Chairman,
Mr. Camardi?
I move we approve.
Have a motion on the floor. We approve Budget Amendment 217. Any questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries.
Budget amendment number 220, Sheriff's Department. It is an increase in seized property fees that have been received, $4,400.16, and the associated line item.
Pleasure of the board.
Move we approve.
Have a motion on the floor. Any questions? All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries.
The next budget amendment, number 218, and I have the sheriff here to help explain this. This is the North Carolina School Resource Officers. We received an extra $100,000 from the school system this year. So that is increasing our revenue by the $100,000 and increasing our salaries and wages, FICA, Medicare, workers' comp, vehicle supplies, maintenance and repairs vehicles, uniforms, and office supplies for these officers, totaling $100,000. And I have the sheriff here to talk about this.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Doherty?
I move adoption of 218, that we accept that $100,000.
Have a motion on the floor. We amend Budget Amendment 218. Any questions or comments for Ms. Holder, the sheriff? All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries.
Very good. Number 219, and there was a replacement that I just handed out. This is Literacy Connections. This is to appropriate and anticipate reimbursement for Bank on Wayne coordinated position with Literacy Connections. This revenue is a reimbursement. This part-time position, it will be put on our payroll position. These are the line items that are affected, and that will be reimbursed by Literacy Connections for a total of $16,152.
Pleasure of the board.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion on the floor. Any questions or comments?
Comment, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Doherty?
And my understanding that what we're doing is we're having dollars that are coming from the Literacy Connections, a nonprofit, to compensate us for adding this individual on our payroll.
That's correct.
So the individual hired is actually on the county payroll.
Yes,
Is that correct?
yes. They are reimbursing the county for the dollars associated with this, the direct dollars associated with this position.
But are they county payroll, are they actually a county employee?
I think they would be considered a county employee with them on our payroll system. They cost the county dollars are not there. I mean, they're reimbursing the county for the dollars.
Well,
The monthly dollars that are associated with it.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just hoping that when we get into the budget process, that we examine this where we're actually having nonprofits who are hiring individuals and adding them to the county payroll. Now, I recognize that they are reimbursing us, but they are actually employees of the county. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the way I would consider them.
So I'm hoping that going forward that we'll do some examination on that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Pate.
I share his concern, but there is a written and signed agreement with Literacy Connections that apparently was passed by the previous board. I think that during the budget negotiations, we need to I'm not picking on them by any means because I support their mission and I'm on their board, but we need to have some common agreements that speak to the language that we need to take a look at again during the budget negotiations. And I feel pretty strongly about that because I'm not sure that we have those kind of agreements in place everywhere that we're doing this. Just my statement. Thank you.
Anyone else? Mr. King?
I apologize, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you allowing me to step out and do a conference call that was scheduled yesterday for today at 3:30. So I'm not sure if I'm going to be repeating something that might have already been said, but I'll spend just a minute on this. I have found that in government, in particular the way that the local governance is looking at nonprofit groups today and subsidizing or sustaining them in some way, they're also looking at the labor part, which is the most expensive part to sustain these programs, is that they start out with a grant, they start out getting it done because they're great ideas, but when they add people on as years go by, then these counties, these governances are having to increase taxes to sustain the program. Now, a lot of counties are looking at contractual work with a job description where an individual, and it's happening all over, where people are retiring at an age of 54, 58 years old with 30, 35 years in with the government and coming right back 90 days later and working under a contract where the individual does not, the county does not pick up or the government does not pick up the benefits. They're already there. They don't pick up the 401, they don't pick up the unemployment or any benefits or even workers' comp. You get these people that come in and say, you know, I've got my time, I've got 30 years in, but now I want to continue working because I'm not but 54 years old and I want to work another 10 years. But you are adding on the overhead of a governance that's sustained by tax dollars. And the people the citizens are saying, you know, we don't mind sustaining programs, but I think they give it to us to look at and how we are going to continue to sustain those as far as employment. And whenever I see these programs that are coming through the system and you're adding employees, could they be contractual? That's all I ask that we look at as we move forward over the next 3 years together here and adding employees to the program. You're just adding liability. It's not an asset. Especially if they run out of money, it becomes a stronger liability when you have them look after the labor part. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone else? Have a motion on the floor. All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries for Budget Amendment 219.
Budget Amendment number 221 is the 4-H robotics program to appropriate funds received from Southern Bank for $5,000 and the expenditure for supplies for the robotics program, $5,000.
Pleasure of the board.
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve.
I have a motion on the floor. Any comments? Questions? No questions. Everyone in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries.
Budget Amendment number 222 is our Facility Services Department. It is, the budget amendment is a transfer of funds from one line item to the other. It's a $29,000 transfer. The reason it's put before the board is because it's above the $5,000 limit. So it is not increasing your budget. It is decreasing the maintenance and repairs equipment line item by $29,000, increasing janitorial supplies by $29,000.
Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
Have a motion on the floor. Any questions?
I do.
Mr. Daugherty.
How could our cost of janitorial supplies go up by almost $30,000.
We actually did an analysis on it. The $29,000 budget amendment will carry you through to the end of the year. That was my question as finance director. Or are they coming back with another one? Not according to our analysis, it should take them through. I think the problem probably was in the original budget, was understated in janitorial supplies.
Do you think it was understated in
Yes.
the original budget?
And they have funds
I mean, that's a-
available in
that's
this
a-
line item to support it.
That's a large increase in janitorial supplies.
It is.
But just as a,
Mr. Kamara.
just as a comment about it, I thought last year as we were doing the budget, and I know the comment was made whenever there were, some departments was agreeing that they would reduce by this amount or that amount. It was clearly said that whenever you ran into trouble, come on back to the board and we'll adjust for that. And the reason I bring that up is when we go to the budget season this time, we should not be, I won't use the word anxious, but ready to reduce a budget because we'll face the same thing a year from now. Because the materials have to be used to clean it, whatever it is. So we probably need to be a little bit more careful about how we reduce, because we have to come back next year. So if you don't want to have to come back next year, you just will have to be careful about reducing it, just because it's budget season. So, just a thought.
Mr. Chairman, if I could follow up on that. I don't think that this line item was cut by $29,000, was it, on janitorial supplies in our budget coming up? And we haven't added that much in additional buildings, so I mean, you're saying that it was an underestimate in regards to the cost of janitorial supplies. I just think I think Milford needs to look real carefully of where the error was made.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Mann.
Well, let's look at it this way. What was in the budget the previous year probably was not enough, and I've talked to Milford about this because it depends on how often you clean. And Milford is really keeping our county office buildings clean, and he's looking at areas that he can maybe change the scheduling and not clean as quite as often in low traffic areas and things like that. But a lot of this is coming from the fact that the county office buildings are being cleaned.
And also, if you'll go back a couple of months, during the budget season last year, we were just beginning to put the new senior center on. So I think that is an increase over the prior year, too.
That's correct.
Anyone else? Yes, sir. Mr. King.
In response to one of the commissioners who mentioned about last year's budget, Commissioner Marty, I sat in last year's budget and we scrutinized every line item expenditure, and it's real easy to go and ask the staff, finance, to go back and look at the last 4 years. I hate to do that, but if there's thought that we underestimated, then let's look at the last 4 years in this particular line item and see if there were any budget amendments made in the last 4 years. We certainly have the minutes, and the finance director has those in data, and pull up the line item to see if there was actually these increases, and what time of year they were, if it was in the middle of the year. So, I would suggest maybe that you want to consider that. I know it's a little bit of work, but with computer age today, you can pull up just about anything.
Well,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Camardi.
Since we're nearing in on the budget preparation year, rather than, you go look for something like that soon, not for my purposes, but I'd just like to see it before we go into the full year, we can, into the budget season. I think it'd be appropriate to show us that kind of stuff then and not cough any new word. Just as an aside, it might be using more supplies because the meetings are running long and we're using
Very possible.
I just thought we might consider that. I'm sorry. Gotta lighten this up just a little bit more.
And anyone else?
We are always able to, during the budget time, to pull up history on any of your line items for you. So just, if you have questions during budget season, just feel free to ask them.
Thank
Have a motion on the floor for budget 222. No other comments? All in favor of the motion, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
That completes the budget amendments.
Thank you, Ms. Hope. Moving on right quickly, we're skipping around, but under unfinished business, item number 6, purchase land for the east side, tower site. Mr. Gurley and Mr. Powers has got a 4 o'clock meeting scheduled. They're gonna be late for to work on the inclement weather that's coming in, so I'd like to take care of that item now, please.
I look at it this way, they got 2 minutes.
Against the weather reports.
Mr. Parker?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Mr. Powers was able to find land that could be purchased for the tower that needs to be placed in the eastern part of the county for the new upgrading of the radio system. You can purchase that for $17,500. It's an acre with access to the road. It'll have an easement with it. It has to be done to, we have to have a tower site to be able to comply and have what we want with the new RCC contract. In addition to that, there will be a cost of having it surveyed, so we'll know exactly where the land is. Mr. Powers has a copy of a picture and a map if anybody wants to look at it.
Does anyone want to see the map? We saw it this morning, but he'll certainly show it again.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Doherty?
I move that we authorize the county attorney to go ahead and execute the necessary documents to purchase this tract of land for the radio tower, and that we have an appropriate budget amendment
Thank you.
for the sum of $17,000.
$500 for the purchase of the property, but then there will be an additional expense of surveying. And I don't know what that is.
$17,500 and the cost of the survey.
And to reimburse.
And to reimburse our
That
county
would
attorney
be-
the
that would be-
$1,000.
That would be part of the 17,000. I'm throwing in the deed for free.
Any comments?
I just want to make sure of the total on this budget amendment, because I've heard some different numbers here.
$17,500.
17,500 is sale price, then whatever the
Survey.
survey is going to be. But then, of course, there's going to be civils that's got to be done to the property. You're going to have to clear it. You're going to have to gravel it, get it ready for the tower.
But you're going to bring us back budget
Yes, sir.
amendments on all that. Is that correct?
Yeah, we have to fence
That's-
it, things
yeah.
like that.
Yeah. You can bring us budget amendments on that. 17.5.
We don't need the land survey part in it right now, do
Excuse me.
we? We don't really need the land survey part in it.
No,
Should come back
but
with it.
that
Okay.
can come,
Okay.
that can come back. But we will need the survey because we're gonna
That, obviously.
get that authorized today or tomorrow, if
Yeah.
you adopt it.
Any other questions or comments? If none, all in favor, show a sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
It's 4 o'clock.
Tell us about the right.
We'll get with you when get done with these meetings on the weather.
What they're doing, they're gonna go back and check with the weather service and we'll make some decisions on what the schedule for the county employees and different facilities are for tomorrow. Okay. Stay on unfinished business. Joint land use study recommendations from the Wayne County Planning Board. Steve, I think you've got some information on that one?
Yes, sir. The joint land use study is a resolution, and we've had some counties to sign a resolution in support of this joint land use study called JLUS. And Mr. Connie Price is going to give us an overview of that. It was going to be brought up last month, but the resolution of this particular resolution pertains more to Seymour Johnson and Wayne County to make it a little bit more personable of our county, but certainly supporting the other counties as well. Mr. Price. And a resolution follows, and I'll read that if you'd like, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I think each of you may have received a map that shows the study areas. I know you can't see it on TV from this, but what it is, it's Wayne County and 6 other counties down east that are participating in this study. It's being suggested and funded by the Department of Defense. Wayne County would just be participating in it as a participant in the planning process. But what it will do is look at possible encroachments that they may occur in the flight path between here and particularly when you get down to Beaufort County, Hyde, Dare, down that way in those flight paths. Part of what was driving this was some of what was brought to you earlier this morning. But we will, in the planning process, Wayne County would be one of the participants, and you're asked to adopt the resolution. The planning board has already looked at. It says that you recognize the economic importance of attracting and retaining military installations in North Carolina, that you support military missions of Seymour Johnson, and you agree to participate in any JLUS undertaken by the Office of Economic Adjustment for Seymour Johnson. We probably will be starting on that shortly. I would think this spring is when that would be starting. Any questions I can?
Any questions for Mr. Price?
Just one question, that is, has this been adopted by these other counties?
I think some have adopted it. Hyde County, I believe, has adopted it, and possibly Dare. I'm not sure on the others. Last time I checked, that was what the status was.
There's no requirement for us to participate funding of any type?
No, sir, I'm not, Mr. King may be aware of that better than I, but I'm not aware of any funding requirements on the county's part. It's being funded entirely by the Department of Defense.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions for Mr. Price?
I'd like to read the
Mr.
resolution.
King, if you would read it, please.
Chairman, thank you. Before I read the resolution, though, just to help the commissioners, we've heard about the BRAC, base realignment and closure. This state of North Carolina draft that was in November of '04. There was a SWOT analysis done, paid for by the Military Affairs Committee here, our local, for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, the North Carolina Advisory Commission on Military Affairs. This was done May of '03. The local community land use and capability study, again by Kimley Horn in 2003. It's a constant battle being raged of who stays and who goes. And that's where we are with Seymour Johnson. It's been nominated for this study. These studies are constant, and they're always there, and they have to be done. And this particular resolution brings Wayne County to the forefront, along with what the Military Affairs Committee or the Friends of Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, is what Connie mentioned this morning, is what we have, what we're supporting with our funding. But this is a resolution whereas the Joint Land Use Study called JLUS program managed by the Office of Economic Adjustment, OEA, of the Department of Defense is a DoD initiative to provide grants to state and local governments to participate with military departments in open, continuous dialogue to develop strategies to support long-term sustainability and operations of military missions. And whereas the JLUS is also intended to be used as a comprehensive strategic plan, including specific implementation actions to address incompatible civilian development that may impair the operational utility of military missions or available resources related to such mission. And whereas Seymour Johnson Air Force Base currently operates and uses a bombing range located in Dare County, North Carolina, together with significant amounts of airspace located both between and around Seymour Johnson Air Force Base and said bombing range. And whereas Seymour Johnson Air Force Base further currently uses certain low-altitude airspace corridors across northeastern North Carolina for certain low-altitude training purposes, and whereas Wayne County has been identified by the OEA as one of 7 counties primarily affected by the military operations of Seymour Johnson Air Force Base, and has been invited to participate in and support the JLUS program along with the counties of Beaufort, Bertie, Dare, Hyde, Terrell, Washington, and Wayne. Now therefore be it resolved, Wayne County hereby recognizes the overall economic importance of attracting and retaining military installations in North Carolina. Wayne County, number 2, Wayne County supports the military missions of Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. And number 3, Wayne County agrees to participate in any JLUS undertaken by the OEA for Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. This adopted the 21st day of January 2014, George Wayne Aycock Jr., Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I move that this be adopted.
I have a motion on the floor. Any comments or questions? If none, everyone in favor show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir, Mr. King.
Discussing this with Mr. Price and Mr. Pate at the meeting, Mr. Price will be asked to participate in on the committee and be at all the meetings as they discuss this moving forward. And they're also asking that a county commissioner be involved and at the meetings and represent the commission. So with that said, I would like to move that Bill Pate, Commissioner Pate, serve and be appointed by this board to serve on that committee, that study committee.
Motion on the floor, Mr. Pate, are you in agreement?
I sat in
will
with
you
the
assume
original
that?
meeting, and this is an important issue.
Any other questions? If not, all in favor of Mr. Pate serving on the board, along with Mr. Price? Mr. Doherty?
I'm gonna raise my hand, I'm waiting for it.
All in favor, show a sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Pate and Mr. Price. We're gonna jump around some more. This morning in the comment section, Mr. Bell said he would give us an update on the jail when he got a phone call. I understand you've got a call back.
Okay. Thank you, Mr.
Take care of
Chairman.
that.
I have an email here just received from Mr. Lassiter giving us direction as to, we have to make an official request to Mr. Secretary Frank Perry. And I'd like to make a motion that the attorney draft up this request to him, asking them to turn over Wayne Correctional Center to us.
I have a motion on the floor. Any questions? If no questions, Mr. Parker, let's vote on it first. All in favor of Mr. Parker drawing up a request, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Mr. Parker, I'll give you the information at the end,
Right.
sir. Okay.
Thank
You take care of that,
Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Parker?
Yes, sir, I will.
Well, we need to bring it back to the board for, or
Yes,
just,
sir. I think
we can sign it and send it on?
I'll prepare a letter for your signature.
Okay, all right. Thank y'all. Okay, unfinished business, North Carolina Eastern Region Trust Fund.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
been waiting since 8 o'clock this morning.
It has been a long day. This, I think, is gonna go down in the annals of the longest meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to go into some discussion here or details as to, about the Eastern Region, along with Commissioner Bell, who sits on the Eastern Region Board, because I just want to go over some things we need to do quickly, because the timeline since last Friday has been compressed. If you turn in your agenda to page 14, and also I gave out some information this morning about the Eastern Region, but the $576,923.08 that's left on the state allocation for Wayne County, it's still at a 1% fee, it's 0 interest, but it has to be paid back in 5 years. What I found out is that I had an email 2 weeks ago that said that the application for this money could only be, you could put on there for economic development only, and it would be okay. Well, I got an email Friday stating that the policy has changed since that was true for the DMV funds, which we got a few weeks ago, 1.8 million. But since this is a loan, we have to have specific projects named on the application. And they're wanting this thing in by March 1st. Secondly, is that we do have to have a resolution. We do have to have a resolution. So what I wanted to do simply at this time is to address, Mr. Chairman, the $576,923.08. As you all know, we've already had multiple people asking for some of this money for different reasons. And in order to be fair to everyone, I would like to make a motion that in order to meet the March 1st deadline, the application deadline, that the February 4th Commissioners meeting include a work session for presentations of requests for Wayne County's portion of the Eastern Region State Appropriation in the amount of $576,923.08. And no later than February 18th, 2014, the Commissioners determine by vote the project or projects to be specified on loan application, and to send the application and resolution to the Eastern Region before March the 1st, expeditiously, Mr. Doty. So that's what I would like to make a motion before the board, so we can be transparent, give everyone that wants to request money from this amount of money, to listen to everybody's presentation, and the board decide how this money, by priority, how this money would be spent.
Understand, according to our paperwork, Mount Olive has already requested part of it, and now we're just opening it up to the other municipalities.
Yeah, but-
Pikeville, Fremont, Eureka,
Yes, but,
Seven Springs.
Mr. Chairman, I want to be clear that we need presentations from these people. They need to come on February 4th, and we need to allow them 15 minutes or so to give us justification so we can set a priority. That's the only way I feel we can set a priority for the board, is to listen to each presentation. That's the reason for my motion.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor, in discussion. Mr. Doherty.
Further clarification. So in other words, we're not committing to any dollars at this point. We're gonna have a work session and have people make presentations to us. And then the following meeting is when we will determine who is gonna be awarded this 500 and some odd thousand.
Yes, sir, and then at that time, pass a resolution, because that's gonna be on February the 18th. That's probably gonna be pushing that March 1st deadline.
I understand.
Pretty close. And so, and it all changed whenever they changed the rules on me and said, you had to have specifics on the application.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr.
And
Page.
just, emphasize, this is for economic development, you just can't use it for anything.
Right.
And, make the public understand that that's what it's for. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. King.
I think it's a good idea. I remember the Golden Leaf money that came across the county about a year ago, maybe, and it was like $2 million or something, and everyone got together at Wayne Community College, and they gave their dog and pony show for, who was going to get it and what it was going to be used for, and sort of vetted out to the public. They gave everyone an opportunity to have fair game at the money, and I think this is it's a fair way. It's the county, and to have all those that come in before us and request funds, I think it's certainly a good way to vet. It's a good idea.
Anyone else? We have a motion on the floor. All in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, if the clerk were here, she would probably tell you that it would be helpful to her in planning the work session if the people who were interested in it would let her know in advance as far as the previous week.
I was gonna get the word out to people, to let people know. Newspaper?
Mr. Steve.
Mr. Steve?
The burden is on you,
That's,
Mr. Steve.
We go back on WGBR.
I don't think they're broadcasting at the present time.
The other thing that you might want to make clear is this is money that the county is having to borrow. And if somebody wants to get it from the county, they would be borrowing it from the county with an expectation that they would pay it back in the 5 years, just like the county has to do.
that is correct.
Plus interest if we set a rate.
Yeah, well, it's.
Revolving loan fund.
Yeah, that would be up to the board, because keep in mind, everything is funneled through the commissioners on this money. So it would be up to the board. What we would like to do at this point is to go ahead and get everything in, and it's not set in stone. Whenever we do get the money, then when we decide to whoever is gonna get a portion of it, we can make policy at that time as to whether we want to add a percentage to it or just use the county as a pass-through, you know?
No, it's,
And so, it's, am I correct on that, Mr. Bell?
well, you know, the last time that we had that discussion at the Eastern Region, the county actually borrowed the money.
Yes.
But the people that receive it is, like Ms. Parker said, is responsible for paying it back.
That's correct.
So to speak, yeah.
Yes, sir. That's what I'm saying, but the county, if we loan, say, Walnut Creek some money, if we wanted to put a percentage on that, an interest rate,
I misinterpreted what you said.
we can, but, you know, it's up to the board.
Parker, Cindy,
Yes,
give a Marcia, and can y'all?
We'll try to get Barbara to get something out to all the municipalities that might be interested, and anybody else that you think might have an interest, if you let Cindy know, and she could get that word to Barbara.
Anyone that's got,
But I guess we need to specify for economic development projects.
Yeah, that's what I was,
Well, yes, it will, and that does include water, sewer. If you look at the handout that I gave you, on the statute says, only for specifically identified development projects or infrastructure projects. This is for the state appropriation fund. This is what the statute said. And it goes on to state that the funds cannot be used for general development activities such as brochures, publicity, advertising, travel to conventions, reception or entertainment and so forth, industrial tenants and the like. So, it's just a general idea, but it's pretty lenient as to what economic development's all about. It does include water, sewer, anything that has to do with economic development. So, they're pretty lenient on that. I also, if we're through discussion on that one, Mr. Chairman, could I have some other things to say about the rest of the funds from the Eastern Region, from the other counties, real quick?
yes, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. If you'll turn to your handout that I gave you, information for Ray Mayo. Wow, how about that? The counties that have withdrawn their DMV funds, this has changed. This is the DMV funds here that Wayne County got, the 1.8 million. And I understand that everyone has made arrangements right now to get all of their DMV funds. So let's get down to the bottom. Counties that have available state appropriation funds. Now, there's three that are doubtful, but as of last Friday, the rest of these, Carteret and Craven, the other counties that the amounts listed is available. They may not use their money. Now, the way, if Wayne County, for example, wanted to borrow some money, and I'm just gonna use this as an example. If we wanted to borrow money from Carteret County, then the board, the county manager, and the county attorney, and the board from Wayne County would have to go to the commissioners at Carteret County and work out a deal with them to get their part of this money, because Carteret County would have to go to the Eastern Region and apply for it, and then turn around and loan it to Wayne County. So the Eastern Region does not have any direct input as to other funds other than what belongs to a particular county, like our Wayne County amount. So if the board at any time, and it's gonna have to be fairly quick, would be interested in contacting any of the other counties, keep in mind, the same thing can happen if another county elects to borrow the money and loan it to us. They could add a interest rate themselves if they want to. This will have to be something that will be worked out between the two counties. The Eastern Region does not get involved in this part of it.
The same time constraint.
Same time constraints, yes, sir. Because Carteret County, Craven, and all of us are under the same restriction. If they don't use their money by June 30th, when Eastern Region dissolves, it goes back to the state treasury. Just like there's one, if we don't get ours by June 30th, our part, Wayne County's part of 576 and change, it will go back to the state treasury. But we do have an opportunity, if we want to, is to contact these other counties of whether they're gonna use their monies or not.
In yours and Mr. Bell's, meetings with the Eastern Region, and I know this is asking a loaded question, but do you think that there is any of these counties that probably will not apply for it unless?
Yes, their feeling is that these counties that, on the state appropriation funds, that they may not use this money, some counties probably won't, because if they get their part of the DMV funds, they may not need to borrow anything down here. Just like Wayne County. We wouldn't necessarily have to borrow the money if we didn't want to, but my goodness, it's cheap interest, you know? Where are you gonna go to find, money with that low of, just a fee?
1%?
Yeah, just a fee, you know, on our part. A 1% fee, but it's a 5-year payback, and that scares some of the counties away, you know, depending on their financial situation.
Mr. Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Informally, just an informal basis, right here in Wayne County, have you had any other groups to say that they were interested? I had a shovel-ready project, or have just on an informal basis?
Yes, I have had communications verbally with 2 or 3 others that are interested in these funds, and that's why, well, we've already taken care of the Wayne County part, you know, but we have had other ones that would like monies, and this money that we have already, the 576,923 that we're gonna apply for, I don't know how far it's gonna go, because I don't know any specific numbers yet, except what we heard from Mount Olive.
Mr. Doherty?
Have we voted on that motion yet? Okay. I just want to make sure of that.
Oh, well,
And so my understanding is that if we identify, let's say, $1 million worth of projects, economic development projects from municipalities or whatever, we could use our 500,000, then we could negotiate with other counties to possibly borrow dollars from them to fund their projects.
Yes, sir.
Yes, okay.
We can.
Okay.
We have passed the motion on
We have voted
on the initial 500.
Okay, we have voted on.
That, the first part, yes, where you voted, in order to meet the, March deadline to
Yes.
include the work session.
It's been a
You-
long
That
vote.
was unanimous, you
Yeah.
did vote on that. But this is a second part. Is this gonna be a separate motion?
No, I have.
You're just
I haven't
giving
made a motion.
information.
That's just for information to the board as to the monies that the other counties, if they don't use theirs now. You know, we got a short period of time, but at the same time, what I will do is, since I have the communications with the Eastern Region, also Commissioner Bell, I will keep an update, okay? I will keep an update on these state appropriated funds to see if any other counties don't come up. But the feeling is from the Eastern Region that there's only those three that have existing loans that are listed there. They probably not, you know, they're gonna use theirs to pay off existing loans or whatever. But, just as a matter of information, whatever the board would like to do. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Next item, and I don't know who's gonna address this unless Mr. Parker and Ms. Hope does, the payroll issue.
You had previously adopted a resolution saying that all of the individuals who were thought to have been underpaid would, under previous payroll system, would be paid in the January 2014 pay period. The auditors are still working on that, and I would recommend that you rescind that previous resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I so move that we rescind that previous resolution.
I have a motion on the floor. Any questions or comments? If none, all in favor of the motion, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous. I guess we're down to the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Daugherty.
I move the acceptance of the consent agenda.
I have a motion on the floor. Any questions or comments? If not, all in favor of the motion, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimous. Anyone else got anything?
Motion to adjourn.
That's a loaded question. Don't be asking questions like that.
Mr. King?
His comments? Start with me?
Yes, sir.
I thought Mr. Parker had something.
No, I just wanted, that was something that hadn't been done yet.
Just real quick, first of all, Mr. Chairman, I applaud you for conducting the meeting today. Being all over the agenda like we were today, it took a lot of being focused, and I appreciate you staying on task and getting us out of here. We did carry a lot of business before the people today. Appreciate the WGBR that we were able to work out something with the radio. I appreciate the media coverage, and really like to thank the staff for doing such a great job in controlling the budget on such a fine facility we have here that is used more so than just the commissioners, but in this room now able to conduct county business in a more thorough way, open, streaming live, with technology the way it is today, and social media and all that goes with people seeing and getting their eyes on government is certainly important, and I think that shows well of this county governance, the commissioners standing tall and having to present themselves and the county business as we've done today to the internet and to the world. In fact, people can pull us up all over the world and get immediate access to our governance. So with that said, again, the staff, kudos go out to, again, the department heads, I think, Mr. Chairman, with working together and being solution-oriented. And just had a really good day in business, and glad to be a commissioner today. We've accomplished a lot for the people of Wayne County. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been a long day, but we have accomplished a lot. I thank the staff, all the commissioners for coming together and moving forward. Plus, we had a wonderful lunch, and I knew I was going to have problems staying awake, but I did. So I just thank you for your leadership, Mr. Chairman, and what you're doing, and to the whole board. Thank you.
Mr. Daugherty.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would request that, Ms. Hope, that if we have a budget amendment going forward that is kind of out of the ordinary, where it's increasing greatly, as we did today on the facilities, that we get additional information provided so we can track that over the last 3 years, as an example, 2 years, 3 years, so we can see where it was over the last 3 years, because I think that's important. But, you know, I think today we have accomplished a lot. But, you know, there's something, the big gorilla in the room is this, and I'm going to broach the subject, and that is that we cannot, today our jobs were detailed and our meeting is lengthened because we have the absence of a county manager. And I'm going to address this. I think that we as a board are going to have to, in the short run, address an interim county manager. The sooner the better. We're going to have to address this because we've got a big county here. We've got a large budget, 1,100 employees, so many departments. And there needs to be a steady hand at the helm. Not saying that our chairman is not, but he didn't take on that job as county manager. And I think we as a board are going to have to address this issue. So I open up the conversations in regards to that, having us making some decision in regards to an interim county manager. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Daugherty. Let me make one comment on that, and then I'll let the other commissioners have their time. We are working on resolving getting me some help, but that's the only comment I'm gonna make today. Is just that we are working on it.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bell.
I yield my time to the chairman.
Mr. Fate.
Mayor Short, just to clarify, that would be an acting county manager, is that correct?
Yes.
Not
Yes,
an
sir.
interim.
Yes, sir.
And everything else that I would say has already been said down here. Thank you.
Mr. Marty.
Well, I would not normally have a comment, but I do want to really take one moment to congratulate my fellow county commissioners on the comments and the position they took on going to the Martin Luther King celebration. I think it's worth just a moment to say that. I listened to them this morning. I so very much appreciate the attitude and the comments they had because it reflects that our county, our working relationship, what people see from you and hear from you will be taken a long ways. And I think that we probably all need to recognize that what we do and say here is really filtered and, well, not sifted, but spread to the community. And I would like just to think that all the young people out there who is less knowledgeable about the struggle will have a better sense today of who their leadership is and how their leadership thinks about those kinds of issues. I think it's just worth saying that. And I say thank you for you guys going, and we'll be back out there somewhere next year.
Thank you, Mr. Marty. I've got just a couple of items. The first one, I've been contacted by the IT department, and I'm going to present this, but personally, I think we need to table it to the next meeting. The IT department has said that, you know, if the commissioners would like, they were basically through with our upgrades in the commissioner's room, not only for our use, but also for the court system. But they said that if we so desired, they could install a light on that side and on maybe the sides, an on-air light, so when we are on broadcasting live, it would, the on light would be on. Without getting to the cost of it, no, I mean, it will be an additional cost. And I would like to give this information to the other commissioners, and I'd like for it to be tabled to the next meeting. I think that y'all need to make that decision, and you need a little bit of time to address it, if that's all right with everyone. And also, I'd like to follow up on what Mr. Camardi said, the Martin Luther King, event yesterday. I want to thank the fellow commissioners for covering for me. I was out of town, and I understand it was a great event, and I just want to thank the commissioners that did go and Mr. Camardi for covering for me. Also, Impact Wayne Annual Investors Meeting, January the 30th. Will be at Goldsboro Country Club. And this coming Thursday, the 29th, the Transportation Hot Topic Luncheon, Tony Taylor, Secretary of Transportation, will be the keynote speaker. That will also be at Goldsboro Country Club, and it'll be from 12 until 1:30. Does anyone else have anything?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Doherty?
Let me get a correction, Steve. Did I state interim?
You still stated it.
I'm sorry. Let me retract that and correct myself and stating acting county manager. I'm sorry.
Commissioner
For the
Pope.
lateness of the hour.
And may I, that date isn't that Wednesday, January the 29th?
What did I say, Thursday?
Yeah, yes,
It's
sir.
Wednesday.
And
Yes, sir,
instead of Commissioner Bell's motion to adjourn, I would recommend that you recess until 8 o'clock on January 29, 2014, at the Goldsboro Country Club, where you will be meeting with your auditors.
Okay.
Oh,
I'd like to place that in form of a motion that we recess and go back into session on the 29th, 8 o'clock, Goldsboro Country Club.
Have a motion on the floor. Any questions? If not, everyone in favor, show sign of right hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Chairman, I move we.
Oh, it is.